Hey, do you notice when you cold call your prospects and say, "Hi, my name is, I'm with XYZ company, and the reason why I called you was," click, or they say, "not interested," or "we already have somebody for that." Do you know why the prospect is doing that? Well, if you don't, I'm going to show you why they're doing that in their mind, and then I'm going to show you how to relanguage certain things you're saying and how to use your tone to get your prospect to let their guard down. Come over here to my vibe board. Now, I know most of you have been trained when you cold call to do what? What's the standard pitch? "Hi, my name is James Miller. I'm with ABC company," whatever that is, "and the reason why I called you was." Now, I want you to think about this for a second. Are you the only person that's calling that prospect day in and day out? Cold calling them? You got to realize they're getting cold calls from everybody that's selling anything from maintenance equipment to what you sell to, cybersecurity for their office. It doesn't matter. So when they hear you say the same thing that everybody else is saying that they don't like, when they turn down the other salespeople, what do you think is happening in their mind? Their guard goes up. Okay, they go into what's called fight or flight mode, and they react to you. That's what we would call a defensive mechanism. "I'm not interested. We already have a vendor for that. We don't need that." Okay, you're literally triggering the resistance by the way you've been taught how to talk to them in that first 30 seconds. Are you with me on that? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to relanguage that and then how to lower your tone to cause them to want to engage and trigger curiosity. You might want to pay attention to this. This is going to be really important here. All right. So the first thing that we want to do when we cold call is we want to trigger curiosity in their mind so they actually want to have a two-way conversation. Like there's something you're going to say and how you're going to say it and how you're going to ask that's going to cause them to open up. Okay? I'm going to show you some examples of that, industry-specific ones and generic. Now, this is what we call a pattern interrupt. Now, I don't mean saying something weird or like some type of joke or something like that. Those very rarely work. So be careful of those. So when I talk about pattern interrupts, it's just a certain question you're asking, and I'm going to show you up here, that just causes them to be like, "Oh, yeah, that's us." And what we're going to do, rather than going into, "I represent ABC company and I'm calling about our new XYZ software," where you start talking about your solution, we're going to talk about a problem or two that most of those people answering can identify with, which then triggers curiosity, all right? And then we're going to do it, and I know some of you are going to be like, "Jeremy, why would I do that?" You're going to act confused in the beginning, not very long, but in the beginning of that cold call where they actually come to your rescue. I actually call this the confused old man technique. Now, where did I develop the confused old man technique? You see, one of the industries I sold in during my 17-year sales career was B2B, and I was cold calling prospects like you. I was cold calling SMB type of companies. I was cold calling even enterprise level companies, Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000. And I quickly realized that if I sounded it like everybody else, that if I sounded sharp and excited and right to the point, that the prospect viewed me like everybody else, cold calling them on a daily basis. And so I literally had no shot. I had to play the numbers game at that point. I didn't want to play the numbers game because you don't make that much money playing the numbers game. So I quickly realized that if I acted kind of confused, like I wasn't quite sure who I was supposed to be talking to, that the average person, whether they were a gatekeeper, like a admin person, or if they were the individual I was supposed to be talking to, like a C-level executive, would actually come to my rescue and tell me who I should be talking to and actually transfer me to them. Or if they were the person I was reaching, would say, "Oh no, I'm the person you should be talking to." And I'm going to show you what I mean by acting like a confused old man. It's the confused tone. Like, "I'm not quite sure," confused tone. I'll show you in a second. All right, this will be interesting. All right. Now I'm going to give you a generic example here so you can plug in what you sell to this example. And then right after I'm going to do this, you'll want to stay around for this. I'm going to give you two completely different industry-specific examples where you can actually see the framework in action. I'm going to show you how to do pattern interrupts, all right? So let's say that somebody answers the phone, Okay, and I'm going to show you my tone in this. Yeah, is Jane there? Hey, yeah, Jane, it's just James Miller with ABC Company. I was wondering if you could possibly help me out for a moment. Now, let me talk about what I just did there. I'm going to get a drink of water. And I'm actually going to do that over because I want you to hear the tone. My voice is just, I had no water in there, like cotton mouth, all right? Yeah, is this Jane? Oh, hey, Jane, it's just Jeremy Miner. I was wondering if you could possibly help me out for a moment. Now, I want to show you what I just did there, okay? What type of tone did you hear me use? Okay, that was a what? A confused tone, all right? Now, why would I use a confused tone there? Why wouldn't I just say, hey, this is James Miller. I'm with ABC Company. I was wondering if you could help me out for a moment. Because I would sound like a what? A salesperson trying to sell something. I don't want to sound like that, okay? Now, why would I use the word just? Why would I say, yeah, it's James Miller. My name is, it's just James Miller. Why would I say just? Why would I almost downplay myself there? Because you probably took in sales training like, never use the word just. It implies that you're not important. Well, I hate to tell you, on a cold call, when you're calling a prospect who has no idea who you are, from Adam or Eve, you have zero trust and zero credibility. They don't think you're important already. I hate to tell you that. So by using the word just, primarily just cold calls. Now inbound and outbound, much different examples, okay? But when you cold call, the word just implies what? That they should already know you. Yeah, it's just Uncle John calling you back, okay? It's just, like it's not a big deal. See, I want them to feel like it's not a big deal, so they what? Lower their guard. Okay, they relax. They don't put up the guard where I have to compete with the wall of sales resistance. You see why I'm using that? Okay. I was wondering if you could possibly help me out for a moment. Now, when you do that with that type of tone, that confused tone, you know what most people will say? They're like, sure, how can I help you? Or they'll say, like if they're really like in a bad mood, they'll be like, sure, how can I help you? Or who is this? Or what's this all about? Most people will say though, sure, how can I help you? Okay, like, how can I help you? Because I'm asking for help. When an old man goes into a grocery store and his GPS doesn't work on his phone, he's like, I'm not sure how to get to my daughter's home. Everybody does what? Come to his help because he's asking for help. I'm using human behavior. I want to work with the way the brain is already working. Now, let's look at the next part here. I was wondering if you could possibly help me out for a moment. Sure, how can I help you? Well, and I'm not sure if you're the right person I should be talking to, but I called to see who would be responsible, like in your company, at looking at any possible hidden gaps in your blank that could be causing you guys to blank. Who should I be talking to about that? Now, let me analyze what I just did there. Okay, that is a generic example, all right? Now, why would I say, even if the right person answered, why would I say, well, I'm not quite sure if you're the right person I should be talking to, but I called to see who would be responsible. Now, why would I say responsible? Who would be responsible in your company? Now, in this example, this is more of a smaller company. If I'm calling an enterprise level company that has thousands of employees, I'm going to say responsible in your department for looking at any hidden gaps. So a little bit of a shift there. This would be a smaller company, you'd say company. If it's a really, really big company, more enterprise, you're going to use department, okay? If you sell B2B, you know what I mean by that, okay? At looking at any possible, now why would I say possible? Why wouldn't I say looking at hidden gaps? Because they might say, well, we don't have hidden gaps. But if I say possible hidden gaps, see, that's a neutral word, possible hidden gaps, that causes them to think, oh, what do you mean by hidden gaps? Or do we have something wrong? It just seeds that there could be something wrong. Okay, that's all I want. I'm not trying to sell them with this. My job is to get them to let their guard down where they open up and have a two-way conversation. That's my only goal on that first part of that cold call. Any possible hidden gaps in your blank? Now the blank will be determined about what you sell. Let's say if you sell like accounting services to small business owners to help them with their accounting so they don't overpay the IRS with taxes. I'm just throwing out something. Any hidden gaps in like your accounting, like your accounting with what you guys are doing that could be causing you guys to overpay the IRS every year. Now, if I said that, any possible hidden gaps in your accounting that could be causing you to overpay the IRS every year, what do you think that's going to do? That's going to trigger some curiosity. How do you mean by paying the IRS? Or how do you mean by overpaying? It's impossible for them not to be curious at that point when I plug in the negative consequence of the possible hidden gap in your blank that could be. Now notice I didn't say is, could be. Why would I use the neutral word there? Because could be, if I get an A-type personality, I'm never going to trigger that prospect to say, we don't have any problems, we don't have any hidden gaps. If I say could or possible, it's neutral. It's a neutral word, all right? And then at the end I say, who should I be talking to about that? Now most of the time, if you're talking to the actual person, they're like, oh, that's me. Now why did they say that? Because I said who would be responsible for problem with negative consequence. It's hard for them to say, oh, that's not me, and try to transfer it, like almost impossible, because they could get in trouble, all right? All right, so that's a generic example. Now there's some offshoots of that, okay, and we train all of that. Actually, some of you are probably wondering, like, how do I write these cold calls out for my industry? So if you're wondering about that, why don't you go, we'll let you go to one of our Facebook groups. You can go to salesrevolution.pro. Go to that one, salesrevolution.pro. I think there's like 85, 90,000 people in there. And we do a lot more of this like specific industry training in that Facebook group. So you're welcome to go there if you want to learn more about cold calling for your industry. All right, now, you want me to show you a specific industry right here? I can't get a water here. Just cotton mouth. What are we going to do? Now, let's say that you sell SaaS, all right? We train thousands of salespeople in this industry. We train 158 different industries. SaaS is a big one for us as well. But let's say you have some type of some software, like a recruiting software, that helps trucking companies, okay, this is a big industry, that helps trucking companies hire better truck drivers, because a big problem that they have is they place ads on Indeed and LinkedIn and different places, and they get kind of flaky people, not really LinkedIn, but more Indeed, and they get flaky drivers that then get hired, and after a week they're like, oh, I don't want to do it, and they quit. And when they quit, guess what happens? That tractor trailer, that big cargo that they're hauling across the country that they make money once they deliver it? Well, that's sitting in their parking lot now because nobody's driving it. And they're losing thousands of dollars a day because they don't have enough drivers to drive all the trucks. And they can't expand and hire more drivers. They can't get more trucks. They can't expand their business. So it's a big problem that this company, that this industry, recruiting SaaS, solves for these truck drivers. They get much more qualified candidates that last, and they're more experienced, all right? So let's say in this example, if I'm typically calling a trucking company, most of the time that's going to go into like some type of receptionist. Not all the time, but most of the time. So let's say that Wanda answers. ABC company, this is Wanda, how can I help you? Okay, I'm going to say this. Oh, hey Wanda, it's just Jeremy Miner. I was wondering if you could possibly help me out for a moment. Sure, how can I help you, Jeremy? Well, and I'm not sure who I should be talking to. I'm trying to reach the person who would be responsible for like overseeing like any possible hidden gaps in like your advertising, to hire like new truck drivers that could be causing you guys to have to keep several of your trucks, vacant every month. Who should I be talking to about that? Now, what do you think Wanda's going to do? Notice I didn't talk about my solution, didn't talk about how awesome it was, or do you have 2 minutes of your time? Can I take 2 minutes of your time to talk about our ABC wonderful thing? Nobody cares about that. Now, what did I do? The person who's responsible for overseeing, so I just said something different, okay? I can tweak this. Overseeing any possible hidden gaps, that triggers, a lot of times you're going to get prospects to say, oh, what do you mean by hidden gaps? And that's what I want. Hidden gaps in your advertising for new drivers that could be causing the firm to have to keep several trucks vacant every month. Who should I be talking to? See, that's the problem. Advertising for new drivers, okay, the thing that they do, and then the consequence is they're having to keep several trucks vacant every month, which she would know, is costing them tens of thousands of dollars a day in lost revenue. And then I say, who should I be talking to about that? You're going to be surprised. Most will be like, oh, that's Jim over in shipping, or that's Harry over in human resources, or whatever. Now, you don't want to say, okay, can I talk to him? Because then they'll say, do you have a scheduled appointment? A lot. So I'm going to show you an easier way, a much softer way to get her to transfer you over to Jim or Sally's office number. Well, should I have you transfer me over to her to, I guess, leave a voicemail and she can just call me back if she needs some help with that? See how easy I made that for Wanda. Well, now, I'm acting confused again, okay? Well, should I have you transfer me over to her to leave a voicemail? Now, why would I say leave a voicemail rather than should I have you transfer me over to her so I can talk to her about ABC? Because leaving a voice message seems much more easier for Wanda to do. Now, if she's transferring me over to Sally and Sally's there, I wouldn't leave a voicemail because Sally's picking up the phone. Do you see what I'm doing there? My goal is not to leave a voicemail, but my goal is to have her transfer me over to Sally's phone, because if Sally's in the office, she's going to answer the phone. If she's not, then I'm going to leave a voicemail, and that's a whole nother train, all right? And then I said, and she can call me back if she needs help. See, no pressure. That's what I'm trying to do. Keep the guard down. You're going to be shocked here. You're going to have like 9 out of 10 Wandas be like, oh, sure, I can transfer you over too. That's probably not a problem. And you transferred right over. See how that helps? All right. You want me to show you another example? Okay, so this is another industry-specific example. Let's say that you sell real estate. You're a real estate investor. Okay, you know those distressed properties? You always see those signs on the road that says, hey, we'll buy your home 30 days for cash, guaranteed. Or you see the billboards, or you get the numbers, okay? We train thousands in this space as well. Now I'm going to show you how to trigger engagement, and I'm going to show you a different way to do this. I think you'll find this actually quite fascinating. Stay right there, Nick. I'm going to come back. I've got to get some documents here just to show everybody what I'm going to do, because I think they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's doing that. All right, so here's what I'm going to show you how to do. So, all right, in this example, I'm going to show you an example of a pattern interrupt, and you can do this in any industry, but we would just obviously reword this. Now, if I'm a real estate investor, the advantage I have to cold call here is in most counties, in most states, I can go print off property tax records of the homeowners that I'm cold calling. Does that make sense? So I want you to go to your county. Most counties you can do this. There's a few you can't, but 99% you can. And I literally want you to print off the property tax records of every single homeowner. It's going to take you some work, but I promise you, you're going to make a lot of money if you do it, of every home that you're cold calling. And I want you to hold them in your hand, because this has to sound real. You don't want to fake it till you make it. I don't want you to do that. Like, I literally want you to print off the property tax records of the homeowner you're calling, all right? Now, you're going to hold them in your hand. Don't cheat. It won't make any sense if you don't. Why do I want you to hold them in your hand? Because while you're cold calling, I'm going to have you shuffle them around, and they're going to hear their property tax records being shuffled around. And what do you think that's going to cause them to think? They're going to stay really engaged. I promise you, it's very rare they're ever going to hang up at you. Let me show you what to do. Okay. Yeah, hey, is this Sally Hodges? Yeah, this is Sally. Who's this? Yeah, it's just James Miller. I'm holding a copy of your property tax records at your property at looks like it's 555 Willow Lane there in Savannah. And I was wondering if you could possibly help me out for a moment. Now, how many prospects, when you cold call with their property tax records and you say, I'm holding a copy of your property tax records at 55 Willow Lane, how many of those people do you think are going to say, not interested? When you're holding their property tax records, shuffling them in your hand. I'm going to go on a limb and say 0, unless you sound super salesy and weird, all right? Now I'm going to do that again. I want you to pay attention to my tone. What type of tone did I use? A confused tone. That triggers curiosity. That triggers them to want to help me. Hey, is this Sally Jones? Oh, hey Sally, it's just James Miller. I'm holding a copy of your property tax records of your home at the 55 Willow Lane. I think they're in Montgomery. And I was wondering if you could possibly help me out for a moment. You know what they're going to say? Yeah, sure. How can I help you? Or what's this all about? You know what's going on in their mind? They think it's like the county commissioner with their tax records, that something could be wrong. So I promise you, I can assure you, it triggers massive curiosity. Okay, then I'm going to do this. Okay, now, my biggest thing that I have to do here after I do that opening statement is you don't go into your sales pitch. If you're in that industry, you're not going to be like, well, hey, I'm an investor and I really like your home and I'd like to make you an offer on it, because they're going to be like, oh, I don't want to sell my home. Because you're going into your solution too fast without triggering engagement to then get into it. All right, so let me show you what you're going to do here. Your biggest thing you have to do is get them to keep their guard down. If you can keep their guard down, you get into a two-way conversation. It can be very fruitful. You can make a lot of money and you get to help your prospects solve their problems. So here's what you're going to do. Well, and I'm not sure if it really makes sense for us to even talk, but I represent a group they're buying like 4 to 5 different properties in like the kind of that 3-block area where you're at there on Willow Lane. And after reviewing your tax records here, especially on page 3, I called to see if you would be opposed to maybe even having a brief conversation around that, because we might actually be able to do something for you. And you're going to go silent. Now, you're going to notice they're going to be like, sure, or how did you get my property tax records? Or, yeah, possibly, but who are you again? Now, that's what I want, because that causes me now to be able to have a two-way open conversation. Rather than you like, hi, my name is, I'm with XYZ company, and the reason why I called you was, and you try to spit out as much information and solution as you can and hope and pray that they bite. You don't want to hope and pray. That is not a winning strategy. So I'm going to do that again. I want you to hear what I did here. It's very important for you, all right? So I'm going to go through the whole thing again. I'm going to get a drink of water here because I'm losing my voice. Shot so many videos today for you guys. You're welcome, by the way. I think you're going to enjoy this one, all right? So you're going to print off the tax records. Yeah, is this Sally Jones? Oh, yeah, hey, Sally. It's just James Miller. I'm holding a... Actually, let's do that over again. I lost my voice. Okay. All right, so I'm going to show you again how to do this, and I want you to pay attention to my tone and how I'm pausing, and then I'm going to break down what I did there, okay? Yeah, is this Sally? Sally Hodges? Yeah, Sally, it's just James Miller. I'm holding a copy of your property tax records at your home at the 55 Willow Lane address, and I was wondering if you could possibly help me out for a moment. Sure, how can I help you? Or sure, you got my property tax records? What's going on? Well, now you're going to downplay it. Well, and I'm not even sure if it really even makes sense for us to even talk, but I represent a group that's buying, looks like it's 4 homes in like that 3-block area by the Willow Lane property. And after kind of going through your tax records on that property, especially page, look like 3 here, I called to see if you guys would be opposed to having maybe a brief conversation around that home, because we might actually have something for you. Should we have a conversation? Now, it's very hard when I say, let me show you how to do this, okay? Why would I say, well, I'm not even sure if it really makes sense for us to even talk? Why would I say that? Because it causes them to lower their guard. If I said, I'm so excited you answered the phone because I really like your home and I'd like to buy it, then you're going to get, well, we're not interested in selling, or, well, it depends on what you offer. But if I kind of push them away, well, and I'm not even sure if it really makes sense for us to even talk, I push them away, they do what? Pull me back in. See how I'm doing that? I'm not being negative. I'm saying, well, I'm not even quite sure. I'm like, I don't know yet. I'm neutral. So you don't want to be negative, but you don't want to be positive, right? I'm right in the middle. I just don't know yet, all right? I don't know enough about the home. I just represent a group. Now, if a real estate investor, you don't want to say I represent a group of investors, because they might have been called 20 times and they're saying I'm with a group of investors. So I just say a group, all right? A group that's buying, looks like it's 4 homes, and it's like I get very, very specific, not generalized, in a 3-block area by your Willow Lane property. And after reviewing your tax records, especially, yeah, here on page 3, now why did I do that? Because now they're wondering what's on page 3, property tax records. it's impossible for them to want to hang up, okay? That's what I want, all right? And after reading your tax record, especially on page 3, see, notice how I slowed down on that home. I called to see if you guys would be opposed. Now, why would I say opposed? Why would I not say, I was wondering if you would be open? Because what do most human beings want to say on a cold call? No. So if I say opposed, I want them to say no. You'll find a lot when you say, I was wondering if you would be opposed to having a brief conversation around that. Most people will say, yeah, I'm not opposed. What do you have? It's hard for them to say, yes, I'm opposed. It's very hard because they already want to say no. So like I said, I'm using that to their advantage and mine because I'm working with their brain, the way they're already wanting to think. I'm using no to get them to say eventually, yes. See what I did there? Having a brief conversation around that. Now, sometimes you can add, because we might actually have something for you. Should we have a conversation? Okay, might. It's a neutral word. Does that make sense? Now, if you want to learn more about that specific cold calling techniques, you're welcome to join one of our Facebook groups, salesrevolution.pro. We do a lot more inside there. Hope that helped you.